Hello, hello everyone. I I can't say how many times I've attended online events or meetups and stuff like that say they're going to start at a time and don't, and that's usually something I'm guilty of because I'm never ready. However, for the first time, I am ready at the start time. So I think we're going to get started. Uh, I think we'll get started now. So give me 1 second. So, hello, everyone. My name is Michael Salati. My background as a developer has been as a web developer. Um, Presently, I'm a developer advocate for Amplication, and I've been in the realm of DevRel for the past roughly 4 years. Prior to my time in DevRel, I focused a lot on front end engineering, and so that's a total of 7 years total in the world of software development. I'm also a GDE for the web, so that just means I've spent a lot of times making mistakes and learning on how to build better web applications. I will also say that I love the web. I grew up on the web, and I remember how things were like in the 90s, the 2000s, and now what we have in our modern web environment. And I love it. It's compelling, it's exciting, and we have incredible tools to make these amazing and compelling experiences for others. And finally, I will say that I have screwed up a lot. So I'm hoping that maybe I can share some of the things I had to learn painfully to help you develop these compelling web experiences. Okay. So as a user of the web, we know that, or we should know that performance matters, as no one likes to wait, and we don't always have time to wait. Sometimes we might be looking something up in a rush, and we need to ensure that, hey, we can get our information quickly. And as a developer, you've probably heard something about how slow sites have higher drop-off rates. In fact, a statistic from the State of the Online Retail Performance Report determined that for every second delay in a mobile page load, conversion can fall by up to 20%. And more importantly, discoverability on the web is impacted by the speed and performance of the sites that we work on. In July of 2018, Google rolled out the speed update for how they index websites. So now speed is considered a ranking factor for sites on mobile searches. And I bring up these things about the importance of speed and performance of the web applications because it's something that's important that often gets missed. So there's this quote by Carolina Caesar, and I think it's an important insight, as tooling seems to be a barrier to improving the quality of performance. And as a result, performance doesn't end up being a main focus in the development process. So here's our quote: "Performance is a pillar of user experience. It gets so often overlooked. Developers are having a hard time obtaining budgets for paid tooling, audits, or training. Businesses fail to see the value in pursuing improvements and critical bug fixes. But as developers, there are a slew of tools that we have to evaluate the performance of our websites. And I'm going to take the time to dig into one of the tools that we have available for free called Lighthouse. So Lighthouse is an open source tool for auditing sites to help developers by providing opportunities and diagnostics to improve the user experience of any website. You can run it against any web page, whether it's a public page or one that requires authentication. It has audits for things such as performance, accessibility, whether a website meets the criteria of being a progressive web application. I think SEO and more. And you can also create your own audits now. It's quite extensive and very, very cool. And finally, you can use Lighthouse anywhere. So you can run Lighthouse inside of the Chrome DevTools as it's kind of built into DevTools. Or you can run Lighthouse as a Chrome extension, which is available, as a Chrome extension, and I believe there is a Firefox extension available as well. And finally, you can run Lighthouse via command line, or give me 1 second, sorry.
Video call from Shanaz Salata.
You know, I said I was prepared, then I got a phone call from my mother. Anyway, so you can also run Lighthouse via command line or in your code, just because it's available as a NPM library. So you can use it just as a tool in your everyday code that you're running to do development. So this is Lighthouse, and I actually want to give a little showcase as to what Lighthouse looks like. So here is a basic website or web application that I have, and all that you're seeing here, it's a fairly simple page, but it's pretty much everything discussed thus far. So if I wanted to run a performance test on this site, I can open up my Chrome DevTools here, and on this top row of tabs, we'll see that there's a Lighthouse tab. Click Lighthouse and generate report. And you can see from the get-go, this report is going to be testing categories such as performance, PWA, best practices, accessibility, as well as SEO. So I'll just click generate report, and it'll run a couple of audits on the page and end up giving us a generalized report. All right, so for this page, the performance is set at an 89. 89 is not bad. Yellows are not bad. It's the reds that we really need to worry about. Accessibility is 95. Best practices are 100. SEO is 100. And if I scroll down to actually review what's going on here, it'll start to give me a better breakdown as to what things are failing and what things and how things can be improved. So for here in our performance area, one of the recommended bits is reduce unused JavaScript, and it'll say what JavaScript files are causing issues. This one just happens to be from a Chrome extension. And then the other bit of feedback is the sizing of the images that I have. So it's advising that I could actually compress some of these image assets in order to improve the performance of my website. So that's good. And the thing is, with all the feedback that they provide, there's actually a little link that says learn more. And if you click that, it'll take you to an article on web.dev, which is Google's website for guidance on web development. And it kind of gives you a deeper dive into what that error is and how you can resolve it. So it's not just telling you what the error is, it gives you a deeper dive into how you can actually fix the issue that Lighthouse has detected. There we go. So next tool that I want to discuss is Lighthouse CI. So Lighthouse that we've seen so far is just a tool that's built into Chrome DevTools, and you can access it in other ways, and it generates reports as these kind of one-off reports that you can use. Lighthouse CI is a little bit different, as Lighthouse CI is a suite of tools for using Lighthouse during your continuous integration process. And the idea is, by asserting against Lighthouse, you can continuously catch regressions in performance in your websites before they become too unruly. And you can use common CI tools like GitHub Actions and Travis CI and let Lighthouse CI automate the testing of your site based on every commit that you push up. So let's get a little bit into some live code. Okay, so here is the website that I showcased earlier. Here's some of the code for it. The repo is a little biggish, but we're going to dig into how we can implement Lighthouse CI in a fairly reasonable manner. And the main file that you need to include is this file right over here called lighthouserc.js. So if I click on lighthouserc.js, I can see this is kind of our definitions file or our configuration file for running Lighthouse CI. And there's a few different things that we have going on here. We have our collect, we have our assert, and we have our upload. And I'll dig into what each one of these means. So for the collect, this is telling Lighthouse CI what URLs to test. So you can test against a slew of URLs. And over here, I'm just testing against the home page. But if you wanted to test against multiple pages, you can just include different URLs inside of the array. And our start server command just tells Lighthouse how to actually run your project locally in order to test against. Next, we have our assertions. And our assertions basically let us say how strictly we want to grade our performance. So we don't have to include any assertions, and we'll just get generalized reports. But the problem with the generalized reports is it doesn't give us an opportunity to quickly determine a significant regression. What I mean to say is if I want to see if the regression is, let's say I'm having a performance less than 90, that's an immediate red flag, and I should consider that. I can set these minimum scores saying, hey, anything less than a 90, this test fails, rather than just getting the reports. So this is allowing me to say that performance, accessibility, best practices, and SEO need to score a minimum score of 90. And if they don't score 90, then they're going to fail the test. And the final area is our upload. So Lighthouse is actually able to, it'll generate a report, and Google will actually host the result of the report for you temporarily in a storage bucket, so you can just view the report as a web page. And that's honestly all you really need to get Lighthouse started. So I am just going to attempt to run Lighthouse, and we'll see how well this works. So if I just want to run Lighthouse on my project based on everything I have, it was, I believe, npx lhci. We'll run that. No, wrong command. Give me 1 second. LHCI auto run. Okay. Let's try this again. npx lhci auto run. Click enter. Now we can see that we're starting to run our audit tests over here. So this is going to iterate over the localhost 5000 3 times and generate the report based on the results here. Awesome. Okay, so tests have run, all results are processed, and they are providing a link to view the report. So let's click on this link to view our report. And when reviewing the report, we can see performance, accessibility, best practices, and SEO are all set at 100. This is awesome. This is what we want to see, but let's actually break the site in order to see if this will catch when we have failed. So we will go back into the code. And I have a script that is commented out over here called blocker.js. And if we look at blocker.js, it is just a loop. It's a for loop that's going to iterate 100,000 times. And it's just going to console log 0 to 99,999. And the reason why this ends up being a good way to block things is just because this ends up being an impure function, the console log, as it's going to be editing our console. And any request outside of our general scope of code can cause some beautiful problems. So let's comment out this blocker script. And we're going to run this locally just to see what this looks like. There we go. So if I refresh the page, It took a little bit, just like a second or two, to actually process the load of the page, where before it loaded pretty quickly. And we can see our console logs over here. So we know that this is running just slightly more sluggish. So let's run the Lighthouse CI test against this page now. So npx Lighthouse CI auto run. It's running a little bit slower this time. Probably the console log to 100,000. There we go. And so right off the bat, we can see that our test has actually failed. And we're seeing the failure here, where the category of performance is failing the minimum score of a 0.9 or 90. And it's found it's getting a score of 0.73. And I can click on the report. We'll go to the performance section. We have this eliminate render blocking resource. And we are being recommended that the blocker.js script is one of the issues causing the dip in performance. Reduced JavaScript execution time. Again, our blocker.js script is causing some of the issues in the performance of this page or application. So this is like an awesome way to actually get the results of these regressions and run a test to see when our performance dips. But still, I'm just running this locally. Ideally, what we'd be able to do is actually test this during the continuous integration process. And so I'm going to go a little bit into how we would be able to do that next. So we're going to want to go to this bit.ly LHCI quick. Let me open this up here. And this is actually just GitHub repo for the Lighthouse CI project, which it goes quick immediately to the getting started steps. So this kind of gives you information on how to implement Lighthouse CI into your own project. We have that Lighthouse RC.js file, which I showcased about what URLs to collect if we want to have certain assertions and uploading the results to the public storage bucket. And they also include information on running this as a GitHub action. Now, you could run this not just with GitHub. I mentioned that you can run Lighthouse CI with Travis, with Circle, any other automated CI tool that you're using. But to use it with GitHub Actions, you could just literally copy this script to kind of get started, where they build the project and then they run Lighthouse CI with npm install. They just install the Lighthouse CI CLI and then run the LHCI auto run. But the key thing of interest here is that they expose an environment variable to the LHCI CLI, which is the LHCI GitHub app token. And what this app token does is it allows you to, give me 1 second, I'm going to see if I can just pull this up real quick. What that token allows is when you make a push or commit up. Here, I'm going to hover over. There we go. Hovering over the status check for each commit, it will attach the report to the status commit. So here on this commit that I have, which is the project before I add the blocker script, I can see that the performance is 100, accessibility is 95. I have all those results right here in this commit. And if I click details, it'll open up the report that I had seen earlier. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the commit that we worked where we reintroduced this blocker script, and we're just going to push it up, and we'll see how this ends up messing up the site and making sure that our Lighthouse CI actually catches it and fails the commit during the during the CI for the commit. So chore add blocker.js. Yep, save that. Sync changes. Okay. And if I give this page a refresh, okay, so here's our commit. And here is our status. So we can see Lighthouse CI is running. I'm just going to open this real quick. So this is me. This is the GitHub action that I have that actually runs the Lighthouse CI test. So I'll let this run for, hopefully this will be done in about a minute. I know waiting for tests to run is probably the most exciting part of any meetup. Yeah, actually, Pawan, the browser tab in the inspect window is probably a common way to use Lighthouse CI. Use Lighthouse. I only ended up discovering the extensions because I ended up needing to use the Chrome extensions because I was in a country that blocked Google services, and for some reason, the browser tab in the inspect window would not work, but for some reason the extension worked. Don't know why, don't know how, but that's how I discovered the other ways of using Lighthouse. And again, this is just taking a little bit slower because this is its own thing. So I'm actually just going to let this go. I'm going to continue with some of the slides. So like I mentioned, in order for us to attach the commit, the status, the result of the test to the status of the commit, we need to add an environment variable, which they kind of give the information here in this Lighthouse CI quick start guide. So if we go to the environment variable, sorry, wrong link. There is a link somewhere in here. Here we go. Here's a link to install and authorize the app. So you would go and then you'd click install or configure. And if you do that, you'll be taken to this screen. So I'll let this run, which will explain, or at least showcase how you can get that token. So again, this is in our getting started guide. We'll install and authorize the app. And so what you don't see here, because I obstructed it, was over here is the token generated, which would be the environment variable of the LHCI GitHub app token. And by providing that token to my GitHub action, I'm able to save the result of the test to the commit message. So here's our CI action that's run. We can see that Lighthouse CI has failed, so it's failed this test. And the result for this is performance is at a 0.48. So let's go to the code. And now the commit has a beautiful red checkmark X next to it because we know that this has failed one of our tests. And the test that's failed is our Lighthouse CI test where it's failed the assertion. And if I click details, I can review the report where our performance has dipped. And just by integrating this into the website, all you have to really do is define what pages you want to test and give it a GitHub, give it the GitHub LHCI token. You're able to start adding these statuses to your commits. That way you can catch these regressions without you ever having to manually do anything to test it, right? This is happening for you somewhat automatically. So I will advise you guys to check out this URL. And I am going to actually pause on this URL. what we're going to do over here is we are going to remove or undo this commenting out of this blocker script. We're going to commit and save this. Fix, remove blocker.js. I'm going to push this change back up now that I've commented out the blocker.js script, so it's not being imported anymore. There we go. So now the commit's been pushed up and it's going to be running the test, and we'll see the test result in a little bit. But if you're interested in implementing this in your project, I would advise you to visit this URL. It'll take you directly to the Lighthouse CI project so you can get started with using it in your everyday projects. So I'll just keep it up for another second. And yeah, so that is everything. My name is Michael Salati, and if you guys have any questions, comments, concern, criticism, and most importantly, praise, now is a great time to let me know what you guys think, or if you have any questions. When I said praise, I wasn't expecting hearts and rocket ships, but I appreciate it. I very much do. I also appreciate heart-eyed emojis. Let's see how this test is going. The test is run. Okay. So the test is actually finished, and we can see that the Lighthouse CI result, again, is 100 to 95, 100, 100. So that's what we were hoping to see. You're very welcome. Also, if this is something that you guys have questions about later that you want to ask or discuss, we do have a Discord. Amplication has a Discord that you can join, and you can find me there if you wanted to communicate with me. So if you go to the Amplication website, we have our join Discord, so you can find me there if you wanted to ask any questions or ask the developer community we have about anything developer related. It doesn't have to be just Discord, or sorry, Amplication or Lighthouse related. All right, well, it looks like we don't have too many questions, if any. So I will say thank you all for joining. Hopefully you guys learned something cool or interesting. We hope to see you in the Discord, because if there's anything cool you're doing, that's a great place to share it, and I would love to see it. As I'm sure other members of the community would also love to see the cool stuff that you're all doing. Anyway, I will bid you all adieu, and have a great rest of your day. Bye, y'all.